From setting records on the field to raising a family on the road, hear how Tim Dillard juggles life as a professional athlete. This is My TV 30's Beyond the Game with the Nashville Sounds.
So, Tim, it's one thing to be a standout baseball player in high school and college, but you've made it to the professional level and you've actually set records with the Nashville Sounds, most wins and most strikeouts. So my question is, how did you do it?
Just longevity. I say it all the time. But just being on the field and being part of a team. I didn't know I'd be a part of this organization for that long, but that's part of it. You don't really get to pick where you play and where you go, and it's kind of rare. I'm kind of that unicorn or Sasquatch, I guess, of rarity in this game. And because a lot of guys, they don't play this long in the minor leagues. They usually go to the big leagues and maybe start setting records there, or they're done and they can't get a job anymore. But this is my 17th season, and it's my 9th in Nashville. So I have other records too that are not as cool.
Well, we love all the records, Tim. So speaking of a rarity, you've been so successful. As you mentioned, people usually have to give up on their dream at this point. You're still playing baseball for a living. What advice would you give to young athletes who want to strive to play professionally?
Wow, that's huge. Usually when it comes to advice, I wouldn't tell anybody anything that I wouldn't tell my own kids. And if my son said, hey, I want to play professional baseball, I would say, okay, well, how much time do you put into it? And how much goes to iPad, or TV or whatever is cool these days, Nintendo Switch. But anyway, you have to sacrifice a little bit of that stuff so that you're in the game, so that you're practicing the game, because you don't roll out of bed and just suddenly be good. You can go through middle school or maybe even high school and get away with just maybe talent. But once you get to professional baseball, everyone's on the same page, and the way to set yourself apart is probably just repetition and practice.
Speaking of practice, frequently in baseball we see position players change positions, transition. You had an interesting transition from behind the plate catching in high school to now a pitcher. How did that take place?
The Milwaukee Brewers drafted me in 2001 out of high school as a catcher, and I was actually hurt. I couldn't swing a bat because I had torn my labrum in my shoulder, and so they ended up drafting me out of my first year of junior college again as a catcher. And when they went to sign me in 2003, they said, hey, you've actually started pitching really well, so we want to sign you as a pitcher. I was like, oh man, that's only been my dream since I was 5, but thanks. But they were like, we think you can have a longer career as a pitcher. So, like I said, 17 years later, I gotta say it was probably the right call, but sometimes I still want to get back there and catch a little bit.
Do you feel like it helps you as a pitcher having spent so much time as a catcher?
Sure. If anything else, my dad, he played in the big leagues and he was an infielder, and he tells me all the time, don't, just because you're a pitcher, you can't discount what those guys are doing on the field every day. I play maybe 1 inning or 6 innings. These guys play 9 innings every single day, and the catchers are doing most of the work. So if anything else, being a catcher and then now being a pitcher, it just gives me a heart for the catchers and what they have to go through every day, and I try to be patient with them. They would probably say I'm not, but.
It's hard on the knees, honestly. Yeah. I tried catching when I was younger. I'm glad that you mentioned your dad, Steve Dillard, a former major leaguer. So I know for myself as an athlete, my dad tried to coach me when I was younger. Sometimes I had ears to hear, other times I knew everything. What was that like? Did you take his advice for granted, or did you actually listen to him?
Growing up, he knew everything about baseball as far as I'm concerned. Taught me how to field a ground ball, turn a double play, taught me how to catch, taught me how to pitch, play first, hit. And then I got about 13 or 14, and my favorite phrase was, I know. So he would say, hey, okay, well, you need to have a soft front side. Oh, I know. And that was my response to everything. And then finally, I guess he just had enough of it. He was like, if you knew, you wouldn't keep doing this. So around the age of 16, I started to really listen. And the tips and tricks that he gave me, because he was a really good hitter. He went to Ole Miss. He took the Ole Miss team that year, the Rebels, to the College World Series. So he knows what he's doing at the plate, and so I finally bought into it. And next thing I know, I was really good. And that's kind of how I ended up getting drafted as a catcher, because not only could I catch really good, I could actually hit really good. And so I guess it's ironic, I thought I was good. And so when I hurt my shoulder, that kind of took both of those things away. So now I'm left with pitching.
And that's really all you have now, because you're banned from Twitter.
I'm banned from Twitter.
What's up? What's going on? Do you know why?
No, they sent me an email and said, we've suspended you on Twitter, congratulations. And I didn't know what to do. They said, click this link and send us an email, and that way we can review the situation. And so I sent an email, and they said an auto response, here you go. And that was 6 weeks ago. So I don't know.
Lastly, even though we won't see it on Twitter, what's something you want to be remembered for with your baseball legacy or off the field with your family?
Yeah. I think what's really cool is that since my dad played, I wasn't alive for that. He was a coach, and so that's what I grew up in. I grew up in the clubhouse as my dad as a coach. My kids get to see me in the clubhouse as a player, so that's really cool. I mean, it's hard to put a price on that when you have those memories in your head. But I would say try not to be too sappy. on a real level, as far as practically on the field, I want to be remembered as a guy that didn't shy away from the baseball. That all I wanted to do was be on the mound and pitch. That's the only reason I'm here, and that's all I really want to do. And so, if a coach hears my name 20 years from now, I want them to go, "Oh yeah, that guy always wanted to play." That's all he wanted to do. And to me, that should be how everyone goes about their business. But I don't know. That's just my take.